It's showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
A fine Saturday matinee to you both. Steve, Andy, it's been a long time since we have matineed together.
Happy Juneteenth, everybody.
Yes.
Juneteenth, It happened. You know what? Our leadership agreed on something.
Yes. It's something relevant and meaningful, actually.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And they managed to do it. And it happened quickly. And that is a reason to celebrate, on top of many other reasons to celebrate. Happy Juneteenth. Welcome to our new national holiday, celebrating something very real. Here we go. It is a fine Saturday. Let us begin how we begin ceremonially. What have you been watching, Steve?
We just finished season 2 of For All Mankind.
Oh, good for you. I have not gotten I'm very, very close. I have not finished season 2.
How did you stop?
No, it hurts me. It kills me.
How did you stop?
It hurts me.
Steve, stop. Steve, I'm watching with my wife, and she falls to sleep so fast everywhere. She just falls to sleep. And it is so hard to watch anything over 22 minutes. It slows the whole progress down. I have to cheat on my wife by watching like in the bathroom by myself in the dark.
Honey, what are you doing? Nothing.
If I want to do that. It feels so dirty. It's dirty birdie. So that's why we just stalled. We stalled. So I got to pick that up again. But you're happy with it. Yeah.
Oh, yes. No, very, very nice. It's a really solid series.
Such a solid series.
Is it related to the first one? I apologize for my ignorance, but I've never seen either.
I'm sorry, what now?
What are you talking about? There's been 2 seasons of it.
There was another For All Mankind in the 80s.
It is not.
It was all about NASA.
It's not related to that.
Yes.
Well, I guess it's related. It's 80s adjacent. How about that?
It's 80s
so
adjacent.
It is related.
And I don't know, because the premise of this For All Mankind, and Pete, I don't think this is a spoiler, it was in the promos, is the Russians land on the moon first.
Oh, so this is actually a show, because the original 80s For All Mankind was a documentary that was all about the NASA moon landings. Okay. And so it was just a very specific
this is not
documentary about that. Okay.
This is an alternate future history.
So it's like that.
Future history, is that a thing?
What was the Amazon show that they did about if the Nazis had won? What was that show? The Man in the High Castle. So it's that sort of
Man in the High Castle based on the book. Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's really interesting. I think what they do incredibly well with For All Mankind is that it really is just that one thing that is different. And from there, where does it go? Like, where does the world go if the Russians beat the United States to the moon? And it's great. It's great. They've just done a lot of great thinking behind it. So very, very big fan. That's it. That's your big. That's been your big binge, Steve, For All Mankind.
I've been poking around on a few things, but just haven't had a lot of time. I've got trailer rewinds to watch, and then we got a film board thing coming up. So there's just haven't had a lot of time during my summer for the stuff that I need to catch up. Although I just gave myself another project thanks to Mr. Andy Nelson
he's the worst.
Over in Discord, people were talking about lists and completion, because I think it was Curtis that had just finished his watching all the Best Picture winners and had posted his Braveheart review, and that led to a discussion of what other lists are you nearly done with, and that led to what are you doing on Letterboxd, where you find all these lists. And then I looked, and I'm like, well, my problem is I've only been logging things on Letterboxd as I watch them. I haven't put anything in there that I watched when I was a kid. And so Andy said, well, you could just go in and you just click and mark them as watched. And so then I thought, well, I could do that. Then completion list would be somewhat accurate. I could say, oh, I have seen this percent of the IMDb top 250. There's like 120,000 movies I need to watch, or to not watch, but to mark between just the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And if I spend 1 second on each of those, it's going to take like 36 hours. If it takes me 1 second to just go watched or no, didn't watch. So I've got a little evening project as I'm watching some things like Lego Masters and some, other just TV that doesn't need a lot of my attention. I can have that on as I'm watching and updating my my Letterboxd lists.
The nice thing when you get, because I mean, you were pulling some numbers from like the 40s or from the 80s, 90s, like those have a lot. But if you're looking at stuff like the 40s, I mean, that's a much smaller, only 14,298 films in the 40s to go through.
You've only seen.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
There's probably only a handful I've seen of those. Yes.
Finding them is rough.
Yeah. Yes.
It's not too bad because you just look at their film list and then you just kind of go through and I mean, you hover over it and it gives you the little eyeball and you click, I've seen it. I liked it. And it's really not too hard.
I get on the problem that I have with that strategy is that I run into movies that I legitimately look incredibly familiar and I can't remember what if I've seen them or not. And then I don't know what to do. Like, I'm sure I probably saw them in the theater, don't remember them. Do I get to mark them as watched or do I have to go watch them again? And then I'll usually put them on. If they're available, I'll put them on and then I'll watch them. And that really slows down when you have to watch 126,000 movies because you're not sure.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Yes. So, It does. I've got a pretty good memory of things that I know I saw in the theater. It'll be the stuff that, did I watch that on cable TV in 7th grade? I don't know. Yes. Those are the things that, may be gray areas. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have a box with all your movie ticket stubs from every movie you ever went and saw?
They've all been scrapbooked.
Oh, okay.
And with washi tape and everything, the whole nine. I'm a big washi taper. Huge. Big with the washi tape. Andy, what are you watching?
Well, anyone who has been tracking my Letterboxd knows that this past week I finally finished, after 5 years, my Robert Redford marathon. Which I've been doing for quite some time. On and off. It's not like I just have been doing nothing but that. I would have finished a lot quicker. But, I finally plowed through everything that he'd been acting in or produced or directed. I skipped things like documentaries that he narrated or things that he was just an executive producer on, things that he actually was like more creatively involved in. And so I finally finished that. And it was a little sad. I'm like, gosh, I don't know. I guess I just really enjoy watching him. And it was kind of a little bittersweet hitting the end, knowing that I've seen it all now.
What I want to do right now is go back to 2016 if we could find the episode where you introduced that you were taking on this project and play some really somber, like maudlin music behind you and do a little retrospective of you talking about over the years, Andy watching Robert Redford movies. Let me be clear. I'm not going to do that, but we can all imagine it because we know what a long, strange trip it's been.
And I saw your it looks like the last thing that you're going to do in his filmography, I guess if you're counting, voice acting in a whatever animated thing, right? Was that the one that you just... Or was he...
Oh, no, it wasn't animated. It was live action.
Oh, it was live action?
And that was his second to last, because after that, I immediately put on Avengers Endgame to cleanse my palate, because I needed something that I liked.
Because I thought that's a really down ending on a career to do that. So Avengers Endgame is officially the last movie that he...
Well, he's done one more. It played at Sundance 2020. And then, and again, he's only a voice in it because his son is it's a kind of an anthology film, and his son is one of the directors, and so he's a voice he's a voice of a talking dolphin in this one. And so,
of course, I can see that's a way to really sunset a career.
Yeah. But what's nice to know is that he's really kind of going out on The Old Man and the Gun, and that his 2018 film, which was really kind of theoretically, I mean, how film, we've been talking about this also in Discord about people who say they retire
and then they don't.
I'd like to think that he is saying, The Old Man and the Gun, that's a great final film for me to kind of give a performance in, because he was great and it was a fun film to watch. I loved his character. And then these other things are just kind of these throwaway, like, Buttons is the film that you were talking about that was so terrible. It's, Kate Winslet's nonprofit was behind it to raise money for autism awareness. Okay, I appreciate that. I wish I would have appreciated a lot more if they made a good film, but I can see why people like Robert Redford might sign on to that. Avengers Endgame was just a fun one, and then this other one that his son's doing, I think. So it's all like, those are kind of all the denouement of the big climax, which is The Old Man and the Gun. But yeah, it was a lot of movies. I have, when I look at the list that I put together, it's 57 films.
57 films of Redford.
Yeah.
You really spaced them out over 5 years.
I did.
Like, I mean, knowing the way you watch movies, you could have done those in a weekend.
That's true. That is true.
We've talked about the Blott-Nelson vortex.
Yes. I clearly wasn't in my zone as I went through this.
No. Good on you, man. Congratulations. And
now it's time to find another marathon for me to plow into.
yeah. I watched The Haunting
You sure did.
twice. And I watched...
Wait. You watched the same one twice, or you watched the two different...
No, Steve. I punished myself with The Haunting 1999, not knowing at all what I would get into. Only because I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm big into horror movies now. Huge. Any paranormal movie, any spooks, door slamming in the night, any of those kinds of things. I'm big into that now. It's been a real whiplash journey for me, thanks to Andy and The Conjuring and Tommy and the Ouija movies. Those recommendations have been really damaging to me. And now that I'm fully broken, I've embraced the entire gestalt. And I decided I wanted to read The Haunting of Hill House, the book. So I'm working my way through the book. And in the process, I thought I might catch the adaptations of the original book. And so I started foolishly with the 1999 version of that, the Jan de Bont, and it's not for me. I don't know who it's for, but it's not for me. It was a not great movie with some, 1999 era CG effects that probably could have been good, and a fantastic house. I thought the house was cool, super redeeming. House was cool. Then I watched the 1963 version, and I had a great time with that. And I think it might have been just like film goggles from having just watched 1999. But it's got a lot of class, and it's got Russ Tamblyn, and it's just great people classily walking around this black and white mansion and doing stuff. I think from where I am in the book, they made some choices in that movie that I don't think make as much sense. I think made more sense to Robert Wise and the screenwriter than to my taste. The adaptation would have been. I think the adaptation should have stuck to the book, and that's unfortunate. But still, a classy soft spot in my newly formed horror heart. I really like it. And so that was fun. But most important, Steve, I think you and I get to reflect together this week because we took part in the Next Reel Emergency Weekend Challenge, Go Watch Spider Movies. And we did so. And weirdly, we chose the same film.
Well, how could you not? How could you not watch Lavalantula?
Lavalantula.
Yes.
So this all started because if you remember last week, we had a little bit of an incident where a spider came down from the ceiling in my house and landed on my camera and crawled across the camera and destroyed the Saturday matinee for a good few minutes. Tommy and Mandy and I suffered through that experience and thus coined the biological term pupus, and that will live in infamy. So we decided with Steve, who made the call to action, everybody in the community should go forth and watch and review a movie related to spiders this weekend. And we ended up finding Steve Guttenberg's film, Lavalantula. What'd you think?
It was so much fun.
Hot take.
It was so much fun. It knew exactly what it wanted to be. It was jokey Hollywood, because he's a washed up action hero. So there's all kinds of just goofy Hollywood insider stuff, and the fact that he brought along his, cast from Police Academy in supporting parts in there. It knew what it wanted to do, and it was just ridiculous fun. It was perfect.
I feel like every time I saw that same CG model of a spider coming out of a hole in the ground, I celebrated. I have never gotten more joy out of rating a film in Letterboxd 1.5 stars with a giant heart. It's not a good movie, and I love it. It's the same sort of thing. If you truck in Sharknado, you're going to have a blast with Lavalantula. And in fact, the tie-in to Sharknado is delightful.
Oh, yes. And I guess I did a little research into this Lavalantula thing. And I guess Steve Guttenberg had been offered the role in Sharknado and turned it down. And when he saw that Sharknado became what it was, he said, well, give me something I can do. Let's do something.
Of those.
I need one of those. And thus Lavalantula was born.
Ian Ziering shows up in the film. He comes out and he says, hey, I'd love to help you with your Lavalantula problem, but I've got a shark thing that I'm dealing with right now. It really is just perfect. It as you say, it knows exactly what it wants to be. There is a sequel, and so if you are into lava spiders that come out and spit lava from their mouths, then this is a series for you.
What I thought was so funny is that only half related, but one of our members recently reviewed the B movie, which popped up in our reviews, and one of the comments was that it would make a good double bill with Tsunami.
Yes. Yes.
I feel like first of all, I want to applaud, Steve, your call to action. I had a lot of fun racing to make sure that I watched a movie on theme this weekend. And I would like to see us do more of that, impromptu calls, go watch a movie related to something and review it before, Sunday at midnight. I think that was really fun. And I like those. I expect more of those experiences.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Super good.
People got to pay attention in Discord, be in
That's
there,
right.
See what's going on. Maybe we will do something bee related or flying insect related. Tsunami sounds like, again, one of those, put it on Saturday afternoon. Andy, it's going to be 125 or something this weekend. So,
Don't tell me that.
Father's Day, just, sit around, watch some Tsunami and let your kids wait on you, hand and foot on Father's Day.
Just for those of you who aren't Fahrenheit users, that would be about 52 degrees Celsius.
Oh my goodness!
Of course, I'm exaggerating. It's probably not going to be 125. I don't think it gets that hot. It just feels.
It's been 121. I know.
Yes.
Okay. I know that there is a certain temperature when it hits that the airports have to shut down because the plane's wheels will melt on the tarmac.
No, it has to do with the air not being dense enough as well.
Okay,
the
both.
Heat.
Yeah.
So 115 degrees Fahrenheit all weekend long.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking forward to.
So high 40s.
Yes, high 40s. Yes. Why do we live here?
I don't know.
You know what? I watched that movie and I brought on the Lavalantula. I feel like that's what happened.
I think if you stay there too long, you become a Lavalantula.
Yeah,
that's the ultimate transformation.
Well, I've stopped fighting scorpions in the backyard, and now it's just Lavalantulas. I go out there with
Lavalantula.
my hammer.
You got your Gutenberg shotgun, and you're ready to go. Andy, do you want to talk about this Lord of the Rings cartoon?
I thought that this was an interesting bit of news that they're, this Warner Brothers, they're kicking back into the Lord of the Rings. They're doing an animated movie called War of the Rohirrim, which of course are the horse warriors that we meet in the Two Towers. And so this is kind of, as they say, it's the untold story behind the fortress of Helm's Deep. And so it's going to be focusing on the King of Rohan, Helm Hammerhand. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with it. I don't know. I thought that it was kind of a cool little bit of news, especially because is Amazon ever going to finish that thing that they're doing? What's going on with that one?
No idea.
But I just love that there's, more Lord of the Rings material coming from Middle-earth, because I think that I think there's a lot of really exciting material to potentially mine in there. Right? But
I was going to say,
you made a
it's
joke.
A dwarf joke.
A dwarf joke. Yes.
That was a dwarf joke.
Yes. So instead of doing an origin story on a character, we're getting an origin story on a setting. Is that what we're essentially getting here? I know.
Yes.
I know that the world is huge, right? So there's a lot of stories to tell, and it is. I mean, it's. I think one of the most memorable set pieces of that whole trilogy. That's the one
for sure
everyone talks about. So it makes sense that they would draw on that. But I just find it interesting. It's not a specific character, because we've got elves that we can go back and tell origin stories, but to go back to this specific place and say, what is the story behind this historic place that everybody is familiar with? I find interesting, a different approach to that.
Well, I think for people who don't like prequels, it certainly is a way to do this where it's just part of the world. It's not an overt prequel that, is setting us up for, why they used it or something like that,
I hear HBO Max is doing a parallel to Taxi Driver. De Niro's not in it, but it's just the story of the cab company. It's going to be great.
Jeez.
These things are going to be everywhere and all animated. You're not going to believe it. It's amazing. It's going to be so good. We've got a hot update on the properties that we have picked before. We're looking forward to them. This is Fear Street parts 1 and 2.
Yeah.
They're not for all audiences anymore.
They are not. And who was on the show with me when I picked that? Pete, was that you when I picked
was.
this? Yes,
I was.
Is a trailer? Because I think one of the things that we talked about was it looks more intense than the Goosebumps movies, which are clearly for a younger audience. This looked like, they might be treading into the PG-13 territory, but no, they are going full on into R-rated territory. According to the film ratings website, part 1 is rated R for strong, bloody violence, drug content, language, and some sexual content. And part 2 also contains bloody horror, violence, sexual content, nudity, drug use, and language throughout. Now, the third one there's no rating information listed yet for that, but everyone is expecting that it will also be rated R, particularly due to the focus on witchcraft. It's probably going to be dark, creepy, all kinds of bloody violence, I'm imagining. But I'm surprised because I thought Netflix would take this into Stranger Things territory, which, sort of feels like more PG-13 than R, but like they're really embracing the dark side of R.L. Stine with this Fear Street.
It makes me look more forward to it.
Yes.
Well, I'm really curious. I don't think that my daughter ever read these particular books. She had read some of the Goosebumps and stuff like that. But she's also kind of taken this turn after watching the Conjuring, like some of the Conjuring films. Like she started kind of getting into this stuff. And in fact, just the other day, she had me sit down and watch The Lazarus Effect with her. And so she's kind of in this zone right now where she's enjoying the scares and having a fun time with it. And so I'm all for it. I'm like, yes, let's do it. I don't know. I'm curious with this one, how she would do, because it's coming from somebody who she's read, but more in the Goosebumps line. So I don't know. I'm curious. I might have to watch one of them and just see if I think it might be too much for her. The only caveat that she has with her rules for doing this is that we have to watch them when it's daylight outside.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So maybe these will be daylight
because she's
watches.
also started breaking and entering, and that happens at night. So she's really maturing in a lot of new ways.
It's a great parenting opportunity, Andy, because you can watch a lot of the ones from the 80s and just turn to her and say, see, that's what happens when you have sex as a teenager. That's what happens when you have sex as a teenager. You get slaughtered. So do not do that. Perfect parenting.
You end up with a hook as a hand.
That's right.
Oh, Dad's Hour with the Saturday Matinée.
Indeed.
We do have some, of course, sad news. One of our favorites is now finally dealing with the fundamental forces of nature, Mr. Beale. We've lost Ned Beatty, you guys.
That is sad. But I mean, I don't feel like he really slowed down. Well, I guess he did retire in around 2013. But I mean, he was busy that whole time, like constantly cranking things out. He had 79 film credits, 80 TV credits to his name. And just, I mean, from 1972, starting off in Deliverance, all the way through, I feel like Ned Beatty's delivered so many memorable characters and a lot that I still have yet to see. So, maybe that's another future movie marathon of mine.
I was just going to say, I hear a series coming on.
80?
I can't wait to watch WW and the Dixie Dance Kings in 1975.
Yes, Mr. Luthor.
Yes.
Mr. Luthor. I will watch that 4 times.
There you go.
I would watch Ned Beatty there. So, Mr. Beatty, R.I.P. You are missed.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Shall we do some trailers?
We should. You know what? I think that we need a new rule. Can I make a new rule?
This is the governing committee of the rules right here. It's the three of us.
Yes.
What is the new rule, Ian?
And I don't know why I'm doing this because it's not in my favor in any way whatsoever. But I think if 2 people end up picking a trailer that have the same performer in them, that those 2 get bumped ahead of anyone who doesn't have that said person in the trailer.
So because we both pick films with Megan Fox in them, then we have to do those. Talk about those back to back.
Then you do them back to back.
We talk about them back to back. Okay.
Why would you do this before we get through our trailers? You bump yourself tonight. You should do it after we do all 3 trailers, and then you get the benefit.
I should, but I'm not because I'm a fool. And really, I mean, need I say more? Honestly, part of it is because I'm a little irritated at myself because I watched your trailer, Pete, and I said, "Ooh, I'm going to pick that one," and then I went and I picked mine instead, and I'm kicking myself a little bit. But I think this is a fun new role because I honestly I'm I was impressed. I'm like, wow, she's busy.
She is busy. I'm actually frustrated that you didn't find a third Megan Fox movie.
I was wondering if there was one out there.
That's on you, man.
If Andy looked hard enough, he might have been able to find something. Who knows? Oh, yes. Well, I saw Pete's trailer as well, and I was like, then I found mine, and I thought, wait, is this the same trailer? What is this? But no, I think mine looks better, so that's why I picked mine, and I am picking.
I think yours looks better too.
Well, this is Midnight in the Switchgrass, and it has a recognizable cast because we've got not only Megan Fox, we've got Bruce Willis, we've got Emil Hirsch, we've got Machine Gun Kelly in a film that is directed by this name, Randall Emmett. It's directed by Randall Emmett. I thought, I don't know who that is. So then I went to IMDb and I thought, he hasn't directed anything, but he's been a producer on like everything. So this is his first time behind the camera directing, but if you look at his producer credits, he's been involved in a lot of things. So I'm hoping that he's bringing what he's seen as a producer to his skill set as director with Midnight in the Switchgrass, which is coming out July 23rd in theaters. It's the story of an FBI agent and Florida state officer who team up to investigate a string of unsolved murder cases.
You a good girl? You're a dirty little girl.
Who's in charge here?
What the hell do you want at my crime scene?
We're the FBI.
I'm with the state police. Give me a shout.
I'm supposed to be protecting these girls.
It's not your operation.
You belong to me. You understand what I'm saying? Now lift up that skirt.
No. The minute I got made bait, it became my operation. I have communication with over a dozen active offenders.
We had a bona fide serial killer. I kind of think I was looking for you.
I got a girl with her skull cracked in 6 places.
The bite marks, it matches. Another girl vanished from a truck stop outside Pensacola last night. Stop it there. Who's that? Get up. It's purification time.
Who was he?
He tried to cuff one of my girls. He had a lightning bolt on his truck.
He's hurting some girl right now.
I can set him up again.
You sure do look familiar. I'd never forget such a pretty face. Cheers.
I know Bruce Willis is starting to get into like Nicolas Cage territory where it's just like, are you going to pay him enough and he'll take a part? But this felt more like the Bruce Willis that I want to see. I don't know. There was just maybe the way the trailer was cut together. I know this isn't going to be great, but it felt like a really strong trailer. Unfortunately, it tells everything, I'm assuming, about this movie is my one complaint about this trailer. Just they're feeding us everything in the trailer. Unless they're doing something smart and pulling a big twist, which I don't think is likely to happen. But this is one that I'm probably not going to go see in the theaters, but I'll be all on board for if it shows up, on Hulu, HBO Max, or something relatively soon. How'd you guys feel about this one?
Well, it adds to the canon of midnight in the movies. Midnight in Paris, Midnight in the Mortuary, Midnight in the Heart of Mancrete, Midnight in the Orange Grove, and that John Cusack, Christopher Plummer classic, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. It does add to that. I don't think that bodes well for it beyond the trailer, but I thought the trailer was great. I think it looked great and intense, and you're right, it gave a lot away, and for a movie like this, maybe that's fine.
Could be.
It is one of those movies where I think that there's some potential with it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess I get nervous when I see a producer like Randall Emmett coming on board to direct something like this. Even though he has, as you pointed out, a very lengthy career in producing, a lot of the stuff that he produces, I look at and go, okay. And so I'm like, if he's pulling his directing skills from those, I question a little bit. Still, I love the cast, and Megan Fox is one of those people who I think there's a lot more potential that she has. I just feel like she so rarely is actually given much to do. I'd love to think that there's something in here. I don't know. I couldn't tell. I do feel like I'm seeing a lot of the movie, and I love the concept. I mean, this true crime. Back when I was like trying to get some different TV shows off the ground, one of them was about these women who disappear from truck stops, because it is quite a thing, because truck drivers go through and it's very easy for them to kind of disappear like that. And so it's a fairly frightening common thing, and it's a really interesting potential kind of basis for a film. And so it definitely piqued my curiosity. I feel like it's probably just one of those late night watches. I'd love to think that it ends up being something more, but but hey, maybe it's still going to be fully entertaining.
Here's hoping. When does it come out?
July 23rd. In theaters.
In theaters,
yes.
Oh.
I love the title.
So yeah. Great. All right. So does that mean that because of this new rule, it takes effect tonight and I need to go now?
Yeah, you're next.
It's very, very uncomfortable. I also picked a Megan Fox movie, and I picked this Megan Fox movie because when you watch the trailer, I just want you to think, as a screenwriting exercise, this is a masterclass in complicating incidents in a screenplay. Let's look at the trailer for Till Death.
Happy anniversary, Pumpkin. Things have been bad between us, and I'm sorry. I know one surprise isn't going to fix everything.
I love you with all of my heart. Till death do us part.
I'm impressed you made it this far. There's one final surprise. Happy anniversary, Pumpkin.
We're not leaving until we open that safe. 200 grand in rocks.
We split the diamonds. Let's go.
2 people knew the combination to that safe. The guy who hired us. And the girl.
She could be miles away by now.
She's still in the house.
No one needs to get hurt.
He wants you to scream.
I think this movie, the whole aspect of this movie, the fact that she is handcuffed to her now dead husband, and this is what's the other movie? Was it it was one we picked on a trailer pick. It was the same thing where she's there playing sex games and.
Well, that's Gerald's Game, Stephen King.
That's Gerald's Game. Yeah, Gerald's Game. It made me think of Gerald's Game, except for this happens to be a sick revenge plot. She ends up handcuffed to her dead husband, and then the murder team comes to get her and finish the job that they were hired to kill her. All of this is given away in the trailer. And so she ends up having to drag the body around while being chased through a snowy cabin setting. And whatever the movie ends up being, good, bad, whatever, I think that setup is really invigorating. I think it leads to potentially Megan Fox getting to show off a little bit her action prowess. And so I'm kind of excited about that. Again, do I think I'm going to see this in the theater? I'm not sure. I look at, director S.K. Dale and writer Jason Carvey. This is first feature for both of them. I think Jason Carvey's written something else that was made that did not crest the 6-star rating on IMDb by kind of a long shot, I believe. A new wave from 2006, and it's a 4.3 on the IMDb scale. So, but again, 2006 was a long time ago, and I'm all about forgiving. I want to see what new stuff they can come up with, and I thought this trailer looked pretty darn good. What did you guys think?
It's fun. I think that, again, it kind of feels like the same territory as Steve's. I mean, I love this sort of like closed setting type of film that we have here, especially when it's one of these where, you're under attack. There's this siege upon your place happening, and you have to find a way to survive and potentially get back at the people who are attacking you. I love those sorts of stories. I think this could be something that's kind of fun. And the concept of her, like you said, having to drag a person around through so much of this, I don't know, it's pretty intriguing to me. So, I feel like this is another great late night watch. So it piques my curiosity, both of them.
It is going to be a great double feature with Steve.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
It may be. And I agree with Andy. I love the complicating factor, but I thought, okay, so she's married to this guy, and his revenge plot is, I'm going to kill myself after I handcuff to her, and that will be my revenge, is to have people come in and do horrible things to her while I'm dead? What?
Well, I think we missed one of the Please, you guys, let's go into benefit of the doubt territory. We cannot assume that his plan was to be dead during this whole situation.
Yeah.
I don't know, because we see her going to play a message, and he's like, "Oh, I'm surprised you've made it this far already." Like, so he's left something. So maybe he was supposed to handcuff her to the bed and then leave. I don't know. I'm curious to see how that happens. But I do like I've got this, dead body I've got to drag around with me. It's very closed setting. Lots of opportunity for some interesting ways to set up, situations, build some tension. So I'm intrigued to see what they do with it. You don't need a lot of story. You just need to really create some tension and suspension and keep that moving throughout. The logic piece is what's going to probably be my hang up on this of, well, if she knows the thing to the safe, then they don't really need to kill her, right? They just need to give us the combination to the safe. We'll let you go. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. I may have to watch this one second so that it's really late. I'm not even worried about logic when I watch this one.
Till Death comes out July 2nd in the US. I have no idea if it's going to be theatrical, but I will say in Australia, it comes out July 21st. And that is its DVD premiere.
Oh.
So my hunch is we're going to get it streaming and not theatrical. And that's the way it is. So Till Death, there you go.
All right. For my trailer, I love the thing that caught me about this particular trailer. And the reason that I ended up picking it is because the way the trailer was cut together, it's an Italian horror film shot in English, partly English, but it's called A Classic Horror Story. Very kind of bland title, but in a way that I feel like they're automatically going to start playing with conventions. And so that intrigued me. And then the way that the trailer was cut, I found to be pretty kind of fun, interesting. The way that they were building tension, the way they played with the titling in the trailer, like everything was very strange and peculiar. I loved it. We're starting with a group of young people who are driving, and their car, the typical thing, an animal jumps in front of their car and they turn and they swerve and they crash into a tree is basically what it looks like. They're somehow in the middle of nowhere, and they find this little house in the middle of the woods. And in this house, of course, it ends up being kind of, I don't know, there's this story in there of these three figures, and all very horrific and creepy. And it all sounds great and creepy. And of course, they just have to figure out how to get out and survive.
Azione.
Ciao! Sono Elisa e sto andando dai miei per le vacanze. Di che cosa si ciba il clown di It? Bambini.
Paura. I bambini sono solo un mezzo. Pennywise mangia la loro paura.
It's a good movie.
Mark! Andate in strada e cercate aiuto.
Non c'è nessuna strada.
We're in the middle of the woods. Non siamo i primi.
Che cos'è?
È la leggenda di Osso Mastrosso e Carcagnosso. La gente moriva di fame e loro promisero di salvarli. Ma non sa mai niente per niente.
And it's called a classic horror story. And I just feel like it's titled that, I just assume, because they are going to be really playing with these conventions in a way that maybe it's kind of like a Cabin in the Woods type of things. I don't really know, but it just, I don't know. I was so intrigued by this trailer that I just instantly wanted to watch this one. What did you two think?
I was wondering, I thought, oh, Andy's picking a horror film. Okay, but as the trailer started to feed out more information about this, that it's really suggesting don't expect what you think out of this. It's going to have some twists. It's playing with the tropes in the genre of sort of like a Cabin in the Woods type of thing of we're really familiar that we're treading this turf that everybody knows what's happening and they're going to pull the carpet out from under us. Yeah, I'm curious to see where they go with this. I'm really intrigued what they're setting up with this, and I don't know anything about these filmmakers, so I don't know if this is their first time in the genre or if it's a genre they've played around in a lot, but I'm all on board for something that reinvents the genre. I think horror, we've seen that genre being played around with a lot, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this really takes it and runs with it.
It is Roberto De Feo and Paolo Strapoli who are the directors of this, and it looks like it's Roberto's second or third feature that he's been directing, and Paolo's first.
Okay.
I don't know. I believe I'm on the record as saying I'm a big horror fan now. And I think that you get a little bit of like Shining and Midsommar and Saw, and like it's all in there. Like the classic horror story might just be we're going to take all these things and we're going to mash them all up together, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So get ready. That eyeball thing, I struggled a little bit with that.
Yeah.
That was rough in my newfound love of all things horror. That was a hard thing, but we can do hard things. I think it's going to be great. I'll watch it. When do I get to watch it?
It is going to be a Netflix film, and it's going to be releasing July 14th. So we've got a trio of
coming right up.
July horrors, thrillers, actions. It's gonna be a fun July. And then throw Fear Street into the mix. We've got Bloody July. I think we'll start calling it that.
Bloody July. And with that, because we are together, and it has been a long time since we have been together, we are going to forego the game and dig into a classic. We are going to re-rank.
What? This is exciting.
There is a game that's part of it, and it is the game that Andy and I play, which is, has Steve seen this movie?
That's right.
I've been working on it. I've been filling in some bits and pieces. We'll see.
I know. You finally saw the secret in their eyes. So.
Oh my gosh, so good. Yes.
I know. All right, here we go. First up, we have Creepshow or Ninotchka. I don't think Steve's seen Ninotchka, but I'm pretty sure he's seen Creepshow.
I think he's seen Creepshow.
I've seen Creepshow many times, but I've not seen Ninotchka.
It's absolutely Creepshow.
It's got to be Creepshow.
Yeah. Okay, next up, Harold and Maude or Scarface. Steve, you've seen both of these.
Oh, yes. Yes, I have.
Yeah. The answer is Harold and Maude.
The answer absolutely is Harold and Maude.
Okay,
absolutely
thank
Harold
God.
Yeah. Next up, we have The World's End or All of Me. Again, I think Steve has seen both of these.
I think so too.
Oh, yes.
And the answer is The World's End.
It's The World's End. All of Me was such a delight, though, but it is World's End.
Put Edwina back in the bowl. Yes.
Back in bowl.
But yes, The World's End. Yeah, no doubt.
The Godfather Part 2 or All That Jazz. Oh, wow.
Wow.
Ouch.
Wow.
This is oh my goodness.
Shame I haven't seen either of those movies.
Yeah, right.
Oh.
Yikes. Okay. What did I do for all that jazz?
No, you got to stop looking. You got to just go with your heart.
Of course
Go
I'm
with your
looking.
Gut.
Of course I'm looking. And because I'm regrettably, I forgot to add all that jazz to my flick chart. So I don't even know.
I want to say, I feel like The Godfather Part 2 probably, but I feel like I'm going to go with Godfather Part 2.
It is The Godfather Part 2 for me.
Steve, where are you landing on that one?
You're all that jazz.
I am, but that's more recent. I've seen that probably within the past 3 or 4 years, and Godfather 2 is a little bit farther out, so it's a little bit hazier. I know I still really enjoyed it, but there was something just really exciting and fresh about all that jazz, particularly the end, just really got me. But I
100%.
Either way, I mean, they're both great films, so I
Yeah.
have no issue with that.
Yeah. Well, Godfather Part 2 went up.
Oh, wow.
From
How
106 to 22.
What?
Whoa.
Yeah. All that jazz has been really high. Godfather Part 2 was surprisingly
Why
low.
is that so low? Did you do it just earlier and it got bumped down?
It's probably because we have so many good movies on our list, and
Yeah.
it ran into something early on that just kept it that low. All right, next up we have The Bad Seed, or Pete's favorite film, Rush.
It's The Bad Seed, except no substitutes.
I have to say, first of all, I think, has Steve seen Rush? I don't think Steve's seen The Bad Seed. I'm going to say he saw Rush.
Oh, I saw Rush in the theater.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I have not seen The Bad Seed.
Yeah.
No, I have not. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say The Bad Seed too. I just have to say, though, if I were to vote from the poster, like the Rush poster that Flickchart has picked, it is a fantastic poster. Like, I can't stop looking at it. I'm so drawn by the poster. I just want to click it because it's so pretty. I have to force my mouse over to The Bad Seed. All right. The Bad Seed stayed in spot 295.
Is it the one with the word letters Rush and they're in the letters?
No.
Oh, wow.
That's the typical one.
Because that's the typical one I know.
It's all purple and red and stuff.
Oh.
Is it the one where she has a gun and she's like that and his eyes are real big over behind her?
Well, I'm not looking at it anymore. I clicked past it, but it was purple and red. If it's purple and red, then
it's purple and red. Yeah, I see. I just want to see. I want to be like you.
It's pretty.
All right.
Next up, Die Hard or Ocean's 8. This is an easy one, and Steve has probably seen both of these.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's seen both of them.
Die Hard.
It's Die Hard.
No doubt.
Absolutely. Well, Die Hard held steady in spot 15. The Little Foxes or Star Trek Beyond. Oh, Steve has not seen The Little Foxes.
The Little Foxes.
But he's seen Star Trek Beyond.
Which one is Star Trek Beyond?
That's the one where the aliens have all the little tiny ships that all fly around and they listen to. Well, I guess they do that in multiple movies.
That was Khan, right?
No,
that was Star Trek Into Darkness.
That was.
It's the one with
it was the most recent one of the three.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's the one with Idris Elba.
Idris Elba. Okay.
Yeah.
And with all the motorcycles, it was the Idris Elba one.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't like The Little Foxes, I don't think.
It was okay. Star Trek Beyond, though. I do enjoy that one.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Casablanca or Scanners.
Casablanca.
Oh, Scanners. I did have an awful attraction to that film. But yeah, I have to go Casablanca. It's a classic.
Yeah.
And Steve,
what haven't you seen?
He's seen Casablanca for sure.
Yes.
I'm going to say that he's seen Scanners.
No.
Oh, that's right. You have a Cronenberg thing.
You have a Cronenberg thing.
Early Cronenberg, later Cronenberg, I'm fine with. Like Naked Lunch, enjoyed that. Dead Ringers.
It's funny that you called Naked Lunch late Cronenberg because that's 92.
Yes, I know.
3.
Well, exactly. That's where it starts getting good for me. It's the early stuff that just And
I want you to watch
Scanners. It's on the Criterion Channel. I'm debating watching it because it's one that I remember being on cable TV when we first got cable TV and the head exploding and it was rated R and it's this ultra gory movie that everybody wanted to see in middle school, but nobody's parents would let them watch it. So I'm an adult.
Yeah,
I can do whatever I want.
There you go.
Okay.
Do it.
Right.
Well, Casablanca takes it and stayed in spot 17. Live Free or Die Hard or King's Row?
Oh, dear.
Where's the rest of me?
My goodness.
Steve has not seen King's Row.
Bruce or Ronnie?
Live Free or Die Hard for sure.
I think it is. Yeah. Where's the rest of me?
Live Free or Die Hard held steady in spot 124. Next up, The Spy Who Came In From the Cold or Outbreak. Boy, there's a pairing.
Spy Who Came In From the Cold.
Yeah. Steve has seen Outbreak. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's seen The Spy Who Came In From the Cold.
No.
Oh.
But has he read it?
No.
No, he doesn't read.
No.
Steve
He's
doesn't
not
read.
That's right. He's not into Cold War
Not
spy
as
thriller
much,
things.
Not as much, but it's on my list of things to do. That and train movies. Those are things I just don't. I don't know.
That's so weird.
I don't know.
And movies where people eat a lot of spicy food.
Yes.
I don't like those either.
All right. We've got one more, I think.
Okay. Spy Who Came In From the Cold held steady in spot 82.
Oh, it's Richard Burton, right?
It is Richard Burton, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Absolutely.
Richard Burton.
I don't think he says that
No.
ever, but last one. I'm going to shuffle it again.
Okay.
'Cause
Get something good.
we already
2001. 2001.
Oh,
2001.
I did. 2001: A Space Odyssey or King's Row?
That's a lie.
It's not.
That is such a lie.
But I can't weigh in because I haven't seen King's Row, and it's going to be it's going to be Rochambeau again. And then
Was this fair? Because I got out of that previous one because Rush was in it and we'd already ranked something with Rush.
Okay.
And
But
so,
now we have.
But you have King's
then
Row.
you can't do it.
Yeah, because
I
You can't do it.
Right.
Flag on the field.
Yes.
You're right.
Yep.
You're right.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to refresh again. Parasite or National Lampoon's Vacation? Vacation is a comedy classic, but it's Parasite for me.
Yes.
Yes.
Steve's seen both of these.
Oh, yes, I
Yes.
have. Yes.
Yeah. Which would you pick, Steve?
Parasite.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Parasite held steady in spot 18. And there you have it. There's our rankings for today's show.
Wow.
Yeah. We had one big change, which was for the
Godfather
for
2.
the better, I would say.
That's that's where it should be. That feels much better.
Getting better.
For that. Yeah.
Wow. Can we re-rank Fargo?
Oh, we talked about doing that, didn't we?
We did.
Why is it someplace that
We
should
It's probably not now because we've shaken up. We've shaken up enough.
No,
is it becoming a weird block in there somewhere? Is it becoming
it's like
brother block?
It is in a very weird place where we're like, why is this in this spot? It should be higher.
I've been getting that. Unfortunately, mine has First Reformed, so it's like I get the first one, the second one is typically like First Reformed, which I really, really liked, and there's a lot of really solid stuff. And it's just I'm getting weird stuff up against it. I'm like, stuff's getting knocked down because I'm like, it's in a weird spot. So let's do the Fargo thing.
Fargo or The Girl Who Played with Fire? Fargo or Memento? Fargo or Scott Pilgrim versus El Mundo?
Scott Pilgrim versus El Mundo.
I'm gonna say Fargo.
Steve?
I'm gonna say Scott Pilgrim.
All right.
There you go. That's the stuff.
Fargo or Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy? Fargo for me.
Fargo. Okay.
Chose wisely.
Fargo or The French Connection?
French Connection.
Fargo for me.
You pick your toes in Poughkeepsie?
Oh.
You pick your feet?
So French Connection and Fargo?
Yeah.
Wow. It's been a while since I've seen either of them, but I'm going to go French Connection.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Fargo or Star Trek, the motion picture? Fargo.
Can't say it fast enough.
Fargo or The Innocents?
Fargo.
Oh, wow. The Innocents. Yeah, I'll say Fargo. It's a tough one, though. Fargo or The Spy Who Came In From the Cold?
Fargo.
I'm going to say this.
Fargo? This Fargo?
The Fargo?
I started saying that
as they know it's in
I froze
Fargo?
up. Yeah, I'm going to say Fargo. Well, that lands Fargo in spot 82 out of 516 films. So that was a bit of a jump.
Quite a jump. Yeah, that gives me relief. That's a worthy re-ranking.
Yeah.
I'm
We needed
glad
to
we
get
did
it
that.
out of that. Of course, whatever was next to
that
it
middle.
is probably going to be
Now we have
equally
to
as
face
frustrating.
it. Yeah. That's right.
C'est la vie.
All right. Well, that brings us to the list. The movie this week. We are now just wrapping up our Lynn Shelton series, and we are doing the fantastic and funny Sword of Trust, starring Mark Maron as a pawn shop dealer. And one of the central pieces of this movie is that they are trying to sell an inherited sword that was allegedly surrendered to General Lee by General Sherman, thus demonstrating that the South won the Civil War. And so this sword is a very strange thing to inherit. And therefore, that's what the members picked in our poll this week. Inheriting strange things, objects, things. I had a rough time with this one, you guys. I'm not going to lie. I just couldn't get to the point where I could figure out what search would bring me my favorite movies of inherited objects.
There's
and
not.
There's not.
No,
and I was just blocked. So I found a couple with help, and I think I hope I don't get stolen.
Oh,
it was rough.
Well, hey, I bumped you to second, so
yeah.
So that's something. Yeah.
Yes.
That's sure something.
But Pete, I'm right there with you. I tried doing searches and I came up with a couple of things and then consulted with the expert in the house and asked my wife. I said, this is the list. And within like 10 minutes during her lunch break, she's like, hands me a Post-it note with all kinds of stuff written on it. I was like, oh my gosh, okay. And I said, well, I haven't seen that, and I haven't seen that, and I haven't seen that, but okay, how did I not even think of these? She's got an encyclopedic brain when it comes to remembering plot points in movies. So help me out on this one. But my first pick,
rough.
Okay, this is. Do I try to secure something before it gets stolen? Do I do them in rank order of like, this one's okay, and I work my way up to this is the best one in this category? I don't know. I think I'm going to go with let me secure the steal first. And I'm surprised you guys hadn't, because I also had to look, once I got my list, I was like, Andy's on the set, man. He's going to be like, we talked about that one on the show. And I'm like, okay. So I checked my list to see whether you've talked about this one on the show. And I'm surprised you have not. I couldn't see it. I didn't see it on the list. So my first pick to prevent this from being stolen is Brewster's Millions.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have not talked about that on the show, have you?
We have not talked about it on the show.
So
Nope.
Brewster's Millions, and what's odd about this one is he inherits money that he needs to spend. So it's not like I inherit money. I'm inheriting a shopping task. So that is my first pick of people inheriting weird things from the family that have died. Brewster's Millions, which I'm talking about the 1980 whatever version because there's like, that's the first thing that came to mind. So I like Googled it or I'm IMDb. Yeah. There's like 10 versions
it's a very
of Brewster's
popular
Millions.
story. Yeah.
Back in the early, 1900s, they did it many, many times. So
yeah.
I was just going to do Brewster's Millions, just different ones.
But you're doing the 85 version.
I'm doing the 85 version. That's the one I've seen.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay.
My pick is the story of a boy with apple, a boy with apple that is lost and then found, a concierge who sleeps with elderly people, and the inheritance of the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Right.
I love this movie. I'm a big fan of these movies, and it's weird and wacky, and I just love like the best of all the funny scenes when he leans over and says, I don't know what kind of cream they put on you, but I want to get some. I laugh out loud at that every single time. He's looking at her body in the coffin during the wake. Is amazing. Fantastic movie, Grand Budapest Hotel. I love it a lot. And it is inherited. There's the second will that's attached to the back of this painting, and it is, and that thus gives over the hotel.
The entire thing. The kit and caboodle.
The kit and caboodle, the whole ball of wax.
I love that movie. I did make a mistake of watching it with the kids. I had forgotten there were some scenes in it that I'm like, might not have wanted them to watch that particular moment, but largely, it was
but we've
solid.
It's settled science. You're a great dad, so don't worry about it. You can do no wrong.
For my first pick, I was debating, do I do all my films where somebody inherits animals? Because there are a number of them. Unfortunately, I could only think of two. And, but I'm like, I know there's a third. I feel like I've seen it. I feel like it's out there. So the one I'm going to start off with is Mark Waters' film from 2011 with Jim Carrey, Mr. Popper's Penguins, about a man who inherits a whole bunch of penguins and has to deal with now living a life with all these penguins in his apartment. It's something I watched with the kids because it was, perfect for them when it came out. Apparently it was a book, which I didn't read when I was young, but they had, and they really enjoyed the whole concept of it. And so it's kind of silly, but it's Jim Carrey. He's very easy to watch. I had a great time with it. Angela Lansbury is great as this woman who's running this old restaurant that he's trying to buy because, at the start, he's this kind of like real estate guy who's trying to, get all these properties and stuff. And over the course of the film, by having the penguins and everything, he learns to have a heart and leaves the restaurant. He buys the restaurant and keeps it as it was, or I can't remember exactly, but it was just very sweet. And, there's some goofy CG stuff with the penguins, but when they have real penguins walking around and Jim Carrey's with the penguins, I just had a great time. I thought he actually worked really well in the film. So that's my first pick, Mr. Popper's Penguins.
Technically not a steal, but you did steal my backup.
Well, Grand Budapest was my backup, so touche.
Wow. Touche to you, sir.
Okay.
Oh, and I just want to say, Clark Gregg's in it, so Ben Lott, get that on your watch list so you can keep Clark Gregg so high.
Keep up with the Clark Gregg, that's right. That's right.
Actors seen this year list.
Okay. Again, another movie I can't believe you guys have not talked about on the show. So I'm going to go with this one because I'm going to try to stick with that because there's one on the show that I think is really obvious and, we'll see. But so this one is, there's one thing that's inherited, but leads to something else that I think is a really strange, and although technically probably not an inheritance, I think it is. When you're, really sharp dressed man who's, really making it in the world, and your father passes away, and you go to find out what you're getting from the will, and you find out that what you get is not the huge estate, but just a bed of roses and a car, and this $3 million is going to somebody else. And it's like, well, where's this going? Who's getting this money? And it's the brother you never knew you had. And so in Rain Man, I would say that Tom Cruise inherits the responsibility of caring for his older brother, Raymond.
He inherits responsibility.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I can't believe you haven't talked about that on the show. I'm surprised. It seems like one that's ripe for the picking there.
It's a good one. It just, we haven't found a place. I've talked about a Dustin Hoffman series, which I likely would have been in that, but hasn't happened, sadly, because that's a fantastic film.
It is a fantastic film. Okay, my next one, and this one doth begin a mini series within my series of 3. I just couldn't find a third one, and thus had to go with Grand Budapest Hotel. And it starts with a movie that was it's a kids movie. It's a sports movie. It's a movie I didn't watch when I was a kid, but saw later after I had kids. It was released in the 90s. And in terms of inheriting strange things, when you're a 12-year-old boy, it is strange to inherit the Minnesota Twins, as happens in Little Big League. Inheriting an entire Major League Baseball team is a strange thing. And that's what happens in Little Big League. What's cool about Little Big League is the number of athletes that are in this movie. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr. saves the day in this movie and leads the list of a long line of professional baseball players that are in this movie. So I'm not saying it's great, but I am saying that my kids liked it a lot when they were very young. So they don't like baseball now. We had this long conversation in the car on the way home. What do you think of baseball? Baseball is a sport that probably shouldn't exist. Super boring. So,
wow.
This movie didn't do well on that front, but they did like it then. So
they're not a fan of our baseball series then, huh?
No, baseball, Ray. Okay.
Like you, as I said, I was trying to do a trilogy of films. For my second one, I hesitate putting this on my list because as memory serves, it's not necessarily a great movie, but I still think in context of inheriting something that odd or weird, I think this definitely fits. This is the Bill Murray starring film directed by Howard Franklin in 1996, Larger Than Life. Bill Murray is he does motivational speeches, and he has a book called Get Over It, which feels very fitting for Bill Murray.
Yeah.
His dad is dying, and but his dad leaves him it's a big thing, something very big. It's a big surprise, whatever it is. And as it turns out, it is an elephant. It is his father's elephant. It was part of a traveling circus act, and now he has this elephant, and he wants to get rid of it. But of course, the person who immediately says, we'll take it, is at the San Diego Zoo, and they are, I think, going overseas. They're overseas. I can't remember. They're traveling. And so he now has to cross the country with an elephant to get this particular elephant to the zoo in time. So, it was fun. It was Bill Murray. The thing that stood out for me at the time when it came out is because there was a scene that was actually shot at a diner not too far from where I lived. And so that was kind of like the talk since everybody knew of this diner, and it was kind of a fun little thing. But, it was an okay little movie. But it certainly fits the bill here. So Larger Than Life.
I remember that movie barely.
Yeah. It's probably
I remember the elephant, and I remember Bill Murray had some funny bits.
He does have some funny bits, yes.
He's just, a funny guy with elephant is still a funny guy with an elephant.
Yeah, that scene when they're wearing the same suits coming down the escalators, Bill Murray and the elephant. Classic.
That was brilliant. Oh, classic elephant. All right, Steve, make it count. This is the third one. Number one pick.
But it's
number one draft.
It's not the number one pick. It's one that I have to do this one because it came up as I was looking, and I thought, oh Lord, I have not seen this movie probably since the early 80s. It is not a great film, but it's one that I remember my brother and I having a lot of fun watching on cable TV because it's just ridiculous and silly and fun. And it's the story of a family that inherits a house. Well, there's nothing unusual with that, right? That they inherit a house. Houses are passed down from generation to generation all the time. But this family inherits this old mansion that houses a dangerous book of evil that has all the monsters of the world trapped in it in 1981's Saturday the 14th, starring Richard Benjamin. I have not seen it since then. I'm sure it is a horrible movie. It's got a 4.7, but I remember being 12 or 13 years old, watching this again and again because it was playing with, the Universal monsters, all of that stuff, and the whole idea of what happens after Friday the 13th is Saturday the 14th was very humorous to my young adolescent brain. So that is my final pick, Saturday the 14th. Have either of you heard of or seen this movie?
Steve, you just described my youth with that movie too. At 100%. I can't believe I didn't think of that. Jeffrey Tambor is Voldemort.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
That is amazing.
That movie was on my list ever since I heard of it. I still have yet to see it, but I was so fascinated by it because, there's Friday the 13th and then Saturday the 14th.
Yes.
Like the whole concept, I absolutely wanted to see it. And then I escaped my mind. I absolutely need to track it down though and watch it because I don't know. It's just one of those ones from my youth that I missed and now I need to see it.
Well, apparently it's available to stream on Tubi with ads. So you can go check that out this weekend.
Excellent.
The book of evil. She serves the coffee and the eyeballs turn around in it. It is great. Andy, you got to see it.
Oh, I guess I do.
Join the club. When the swamp thing comes out of the bathtub. Oh, so good. That movie. I'm sure it's really dated.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I'm all in. Great pick. My third pick, I hereby violate the Andy Nelson rule of no picks of movies we've done on the show because of my mini series. If you are a retired showgirl and you inherit the Cleveland Indians, you want to get out of Cleveland. You want to get them to a sunnier place. And that's what you try and do in Major League. Another inherited baseball team. Now, the thing is, first of all, if you want to catch up with the Twins versus Indians, they're playing on Friday, June 25th, and I think that the Indians are going to continue to dominate in that series. It doesn't look good for the Twins, but also I couldn't find any other movies where entire sports teams, like real sports teams, were inherited or were bequeathed to others. It was just these two. Can you think of another one?
No.
Why Major League Baseball? That is the question.
Why
do old people want to get rid of their baseball teams?
It's the all-American sport. That's the thing is about that sport. Yeah.
This was my problem. And thus we have Grand Budapest Hotel, which actually of all these is my favorite pick, but still.
Actually, as I do a quick research, Any Given Sunday.
Oh,
there you go.
You're right.
There you go.
True.
Cameron Diaz
that should have been it.
Yeah. She inherited her team.
Bonus pick.
There you go.
That's Andy's bonus. All
my
right.
bonus,
what do you got? Wrap it up.
For my final pick, I wanted to throw in Seven Chances, Buster Keaton, fantastic movie with some amazing set pieces. And the whole conceit of the inheritance is very funny because he gets a note that he will inherit this money if he's married by the time by 5 p.m. on his 27th birthday, which happens to be that day. And so it's very funny. And, this is the one where he ends up with like hundreds of women in wedding dresses all chasing him. And he's running down the hill and there's all these boulders chasing after him. But it was just all about the money. And so I'm like, well, that's, the movie itself is funny and the conceit is funny, but that's not an interesting or odd or weird thing. And so instead, I'm going with a film that has been remade recently, somewhat recently, 2001. I just watched it because I hadn't seen the original and I wanted to. It is 13 Ghosts, William Castle's film from 1960. And it starts off with such a funny, it's almost a comedy because it's this married couple who, he is a lecturer in a university, but obviously isn't making enough money because their residence, which is, obviously full of rented furniture, they keep not having enough money to pay for it. And so this is the umpteenth time that the furniture collectors have come to take all the furniture out of their house. And so it sets up for kind of this weird kind of comedy as his wife's calling him saying, their furniture people are here again. Have you not paid? And all of a sudden, so you got this weird setup and the little boy, it's his birthday and his only wish is that he can live in a house with furniture. So it's like, it's such a strange setup. And then, of course, a mysterious wind blows in and lo and behold, someone knocks at the door. There's a telegram. His weird occultist uncle, Dr. Plato Zorba, has passed away and has bequeathed him his mansion, which happens to have 13 ghosts in it. Well, technically 12 ghosts that he has been collecting over the years. He has become a ghost hunter. He captures the ghosts and he's got special glasses that he's designed so he can see the ghosts. And this family moves in and they do a whole Ouija board thing, and because they don't really believe it, but the planchette starts floating in the air and all sorts of stuff. And it's creepy. It's fun. It's very silly. It's a William Castle film. And, but some of the effects and kind of the double exposure filming they did to create the ghosts, it was actually kind of effective. And I had a really fun time with it. And, there's a little bit of a kind of a silly story that kind of goes along with it as you kind of come to realize what's happening. You do have Margaret Hamilton as the housekeeper, and of course she was the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz, and here she is playing this very witchy maid. And so it's fun. It's a very fun little movie. A mansion full of ghosts. I think that fits the bill. So that's my final pick, 13 Ghosts from 1960.
There we go. There is our list. 9 films of inheriting strange things. Most important, before you watch any of these movies, go watch Sword of Trust. Do it for Lynn.
Do it
Good
for
movie. There you go. And now we have to come up with the choices for next week. The film that we are doing is Memento.
We're kicking off our spoiled, rotten twist endings series. It's a fun one, and I know we've all seen this, so I think we can very easily come up with some list options.
One of the things that we talked about is, and I think is arguable, is great film tattoos. And I was thinking actually terrible film tattoos. Because you have to admit, Lenny's tattoos aren't the best.
No.
Like if you just want a guy to tattoo phone numbers on you, then, let's find the worst movie tattoos. That's the list.
That's a tough one. I love the idea of cinematic amnesia.
I think that's actually probably a broad field.
Cinematic amnesia? What do you mean cinematic amnesia? That it's part of the story, or what it makes it
that it's
cinematic?
In wide that it's
in movies.
anamorphic.
It's in movies because here's the thing. I don't know a thing about amnesia except for what movies have taught me. Is amnesia as portrayed in film accurate? I don't know, probably not. But in the world of cinematic amnesia, sure, it works in context of the story. So we can just call it amnesia, but you know what I mean.
Okay.
Let's definitely do amnesia. We got to do that.
You want to do terrible film tattoos, Pete? Is that what you're sticking with?
Is that what you're sticking with? How do you put it in a way that doesn't lock us in? Film tattoos of note. Notable film tattoos. Could be good, could be bad.
True, it gives you some,
I want options, because I don't think, are any of us on the list next week?
No.
Oh, for crying out loud. No, none of us.
We can do whatever we want.
This is a list grenade, is what we call this. Let's do great film tattoos. Let's leave it at that. What you said.
All right, Steve, what do you think?
So we've got tattoos. We're thinking about amnesia.
Or are we? I forget. See what I did there?
You're kind of on a roll with the dad jokes.
Hey, it's Father's Day this weekend.
Going into Father's Day weekend.
Throw me a bone here.
And now accents. And
is that what that
so you're really
is that what that
you're
was?
really burying yourself in the part, Dad.
Was that an accent? Okay. Oh, he's on a roll. Okay. That's why there's butter on his pants.
Oh,
I'm not the only one.
No.
Wow. Really leaning in.
That's right. Okay. Well, we can't. Why would we do? We don't want to waste great twist endings. I mean, that's the whole series, right? So there's too many other things in here. Filmed in black and white and color, yeah, but then that just becomes let me find a list. I like something where you got to dig into it a little bit, like Amnesia. Okay, that's going to take some digging around. Same thing with great film tattoos. Revenge for Murdered Spouse, that's like, it feels like that's so done. But then if I give them Polaroids, I feel like that's just...
Polaroids in film?
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, I mean, that's like people wearing blue Nikes. I mean, it just, how are you going to find that? That's kind of tough. So,
well, how about non-chronological films? That's an interesting list.
So it gives you some, yes, I think that gives you some options, because you could look at it from different ways about non-chronological. There's different ways you could look at that. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. And that's what it's most known for, I think. Does it make sense to stick with that?
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what we've got. Are we excited about that? Are we happy about what we're delivering to people?
Sure. We'll see what Mandy, Rob, and Kyle feel about that.
That's right. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. And you know what? You can get in on the chaos that is voting for next week's list. All you have to do is head over to the Show Talk channel in the Next Reel Discord community, and you can lend your vote to the chaos that is list picking. Book of Evil, List of Evil. That's what we have. And it is all about the movie Sabotaged. And how do you get access to the Show Talk channel? I'm so glad you asked. We're thinking the same thing. All you have to do is head over to thenextreel.com/membership and become a supporting member of the Next Reel family of podcasts. For just $1 a month, you can become a one-reeler and join our online community in our Discord server, all the public channels. For a few dollars more, you become a two-reel supporter and join us for show live streams as we record, early access to shows in your very own personal podcast feed, access to the super secret member channels in Discord, and member bonus episodes. And we are doing a bazillion of bonus episodes. Members get a slew of episodes that they can hear every week. Plus, you can now support with a single annual donation at either level. And you know what? For those who don't want to listen to the movie reviews and the criticism, just go search in your favorite podcast directory. You can get the individual Saturday Matinée podcast feed. You can subscribe to that and not have to subscribe to the master feed where you get all the shows. And in fact, every one of our shows has its very own individual podcast feed. So if you have been subscribing to the master feed, you can now split all that up and just get the shows you want when you want them. We're about to go on our July hiatus. A number of our shows are taking a break for the month of July. Not all of them, but a number of them, including this one. We only have one more Saturday Matinée show that is coming up in the month of June. And then we're taking the month off. We recalibrate. We come up with all kinds of new ideas and change things up and shake things up and just, honestly, just take a break. We publish a lot of stuff here. Occasionally I'm afraid for our next real publishing calendar. Its days are numbered.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Anybody?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Because it's a calendar.
I just wanted to play as a calendar. The days I wanted to play the dad jokes, and you guys gave me a 0. Thank you for that, dads. That was great. Anyway, so we are taking a break in July. Some of the things are going to slow down, but the Discord community, I guarantee you, will not. We're still going to be there. You just won't get quite as many episodes from the Next Reel family as you do now. So that's what I got. Anybody else? You feel good?
I feel good. I feel great. I feel wonderful.
You feel wonderful? Hey, it has been a pleasure Matinée podcasting with you, boys. It's been a long time since the trio has been back together. Andy, Steve?
Getting the team back together. Feels good. See everybody.
Feels good.
Hondo.